Carol Burnett, the woman America adored for her warm smile and timeless humor. For decades, she's been known as Hollywood's sweetest soul, the queen of grace and laughter. But even legends have breaking points. Now in her 90s, Carol opened up about something few ever saw coming, the men she just couldn't stand. These weren't random people. They were powerful men who had once been part of her world, on stage, behind the scenes. In her personal life, some broke her trust through lies and betrayal. Others tried to push her aside from shows she helped make iconic. So who were the ones who hurt one of television's most beloved legends? First, Harvey Korman, the closest partner in comedy. At the heart of the Carol Burnett show was Carol, the heartbeat in Harvey, the genius who turned her jokes into gold. Together they made magic. But by 1974, the show was at its peak. 4 Emmys, massive ratings. But tension had crept in. Some insiders whispered that Harvey was starting to feel overshadowed by Carol's rising fame. Then one afternoon at Studio 33 in Los Angeles, everything blew up during rehearsal. A lighting mistake left Harvey's face in shadow. He froze, threw his script on the floor and shouted, "After all these years, can't anyone get it right?" The room went silent. Director Dave Powers tried to calm him down, but Harvey kept going, even taking a shot at Carol. That hit deep. Carol, known for her kindness, stood up, walked to the stage, and said, "Harvey, I've had enough. If you can't respect everyone here, you don't need to be here." Harvey stared, then turned and walked off. A cameraman remembered seeing Carol sitting alone, quietly saying, "I didn't want it to end this way," but he went too far. The Los Angeles Herald-Examiner ran the headline, "Harvey Korman leaves the Carol Burnett show during rehearsal." Then a few days later, CBS got a phone call. It was Harvey. His voice trembled. "I need to talk to Carol." He admitted softly, "I was wrong. I want to come back." The next morning, Harvey walked into the production meeting. Everyone froze again. He apologized to the crew, then turned to Carol. "I forgot why I started." Carol smiled, walked up, and hugged him. The studio broke into applause. It was powerful, but something had changed forever. Harvey stayed on the show until 1977 before leaving quietly. Carol stayed kind and respectful, but their friendship never fully healed. In a 1983 interview, when asked about Harvey, she smiled and said, "Harvey made me laugh more than anyone and gave me the biggest headaches." Second, Joe Hamilton, the husband who forgot she mattered. Carol and her husband, Joe Hamilton, were once the dream team, the perfect blend of comedy and control. Their story started in 1960. Carol once said, "He looked at me in a way that made me feel like I truly mattered." 3 years later, they tied the knot by 1967, when the Carol Burnett show hit the air. Joe had become not just her husband, he was the producer, mentor, and partner steering the show's success. For years, they were unstoppable. But success can twist even the strongest bonds. Around 1975, things began to change. Joe started taking more control. He wanted final approval over everything before Carol even saw it. Carol disagreed. She fought back. That's when the cracks really began to show. As time passed, Joe became distant, more focused on new projects, less present at home. Then whispers began floating around the CBS lot. Crew members often spotted Joe at restaurants near the studio, always with the same young CBS editor. Carol didn't confront him right away, but she broke down one night after overhearing crew gossip. It crushed her. Then came the real heartbreak. In 1982, while reviewing contracts, Carol's lawyer discovered something shocking. Joe had quietly formed Hamilton Productions, registering spin-off projects from the Carol Burnett show under his own name. One of those projects, Mama's Family, based on a sketch Carol created, but without her credited ownership. That betrayal hit like a punch to the gut. Carol confronted him face-to-face at CBS. She asked, "Do you think it's fair to turn what we built together into something just yours?" Joe shot back coldly, "It's business, Carol, not emotion." That was the moment everything ended. On March 3, 1983, Carol filed for divorce. Their separation turned into one of Hollywood's most complicated asset battles. For nearly a year, the trial dragged on. Carol stayed composed and graceful. Joe looked defeated. Finally, in June 1984, The court ruled that Carol would keep the show's name and half of its earnings. When asked how she felt, she simply smiled and said, "We were the best team until he forgot I was more than a partner." That quote made People magazine's cover. Joe passed away from heart disease in 1991. Carol didn't attend the funeral, but she sent white flowers with a simple note. "I wish you peace, Joe. As for me, I'll keep going." Third, Marlon Brando, the legend who crossed a line. Some Hollywood stories sound too wild to believe until you find out they're true. It was a quiet summer night in July 1972. Around 3 in the morning, Carol's phone rang. Half asleep, Carol picked up, then froze. A deep, unmistakable voice said, "Carol, it's Marlon Brando." She thought it was a prank, but when he mentioned watching the Carol Burnett show, she realized it was really him. The two ended up talking for over 30 minutes. Brando went on about acting Hollywood, how television needs more women like you. His deep voice grew slower, softer. Suddenly, it wasn't just a casual call. It was crossing a line. Carol later said, "I realized I was speaking to the real Marlon Brando. He was magnetic, but something about his tone felt off." When his words turned too personal, Carol drew the line firmly, but with class. "Mr. Brando, I appreciate your kind words, but it's very late. I have an early call tomorrow." Then she hung up. But by sunrise, Hollywood was on fire. The Hollywood Reporter splashed the headline, "Marlon Brando calls Carol Burnett at 3 a.m." From that night on, Carol made sure they never crossed paths again. At the 1974 AFI Awards, when Brando appeared, she turned away instantly. Her PR team kept a private note on her schedule: "Do not attend events with Brando present." For Carol, it wasn't just about embarrassment, it was about respect. Fourth, Cary Grant, the dismissal that stung. Flashback to 1968. The Beverly Hilton. Cary Grant's Lifetime Achievement Award. Carol arrived in a stunning red gown, radiant, confident. After the ceremony, she walked up to Cary's table, ready to congratulate him. A director tried to lighten things up. "Have you seen Carol's show? The whole country loves it." Grant smirked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, that show? The one where she waves her arms, makes faces, and overacts. I don't understand why people enjoy that sort of thing." His words dropped like a bomb. Carol didn't flinch. She kept her composure, looked him straight in the eye and said calmly, "Maybe people prefer laughing with real folks rather than with perfection." The table froze. Within 48 hours, the Los Angeles Times ran, "Cary Grant and Carol Burnett, a frosty encounter." CBS jumped into action with a statement: "Carol Burnett represents humor that is humane and intelligent." Carol didn't say a word publicly, but that season, the Carol Burnett show hit its highest ratings ever. Paramount later offered her a co-starring role with Cary Grant. She politely declined. Fifth, Lorne Michaels, the SNL rejection that lasted 50 years. For nearly 50 years, Carol Burnett, the woman who paved the way for female-led comedy, was never invited to host Saturday Night Live. Let's rewind to 1975 when SNL premiered. Carol represented heartfelt, character-driven humor. Michaels was shaping a new era of edgy political satire. Inside NBC, Carol's name came up. Michaels allegedly dismissed it. "She doesn't fit the spirit of the show." That comment fueled years of rumors. By 1981, journalist Tom Shales wrote that Burnett had expressed interest in hosting multiple times, yet never received a response. Fans were outraged. During a late 1980s appearance on Larry King Live, Carol smiled with gentle irony. "Maybe I'm just not edgy enough for them." A former editor said Michaels rejected a suggestion to include Burnett in the show's 10th anniversary special, saying, "We respect her, but that's not our kind of comedy." In 1991, at a Television Academy event, both were scheduled to speak. The audience gave Carol a standing ovation. Carol stayed seated, eyes fixed on the camera. The clip was dubbed "the coldest look in Hollywood." The story might have faded, until 2023 when NBC produced a special to honor Carol's legacy. A journalist asked if she regretted never hosting SNL. Carol smiled kindly and replied, "I guess they didn't need me, but I didn't need them either." That single sentence shattered 50 years of silence. Within 24 hours, the hashtag #InviteCarol to SNL went viral. After decades of grace, after years of kindness, Carol Burnett had finally spoken, and in those few words, she reminded the world what real power looks like. The power to wait, to endure, to let success speak for itself. Because sometimes the greatest response isn't a fight, it's simply continuing to shine.